day, everybody. It's Calxiyn and Hunter here, and if you all enjoyed this video, you should subscribe for more RWBY videos, join the Discord server, or follow us on our other social media to connect with us and other fans. And thank you to all the patrons and YouTube membership members for making videos like this possible, for monetarily supporting us directly, and getting some cool rewards. You can check those out. So, we're talking about Penny dying today, which is very much less of a cheerful note than I guess that we started on. And we were thinking about making this video for a long time, but it kind of sort of changed over time because at the beginning, there was just a lot of discourse about like, oh, you know, Penny S-worded herself versus like people saying, no, that's not really right. Like it's kind of more along the lines of something like euthanasia. It's not really S-wording yourself or encouraging other people to S-word themselves like a lot of people were saying. But this video is actually kind of morphed into something different surrounding on Jaune. Because the second discourse in all of this conversation, and I made like a thread on the whole like euthanasia thing, so I'm not going to go through it again, but basically I think our perspective on it wasn't like S-wording. It's basically the equivalent of somebody wanting, they say like die with dignity, like that's been sort of the campaign like for euthanasia, at least here. It's basically that like Penny didn't have a choice either way. It was either Cinder was going to kill her, or she got to take her life into her own hands and decide what happens to her. I personally see that more as euthanasia. I have a personal connection with all of that sort of stuff, and so it was very frustrating for me to see people equating it to, again, like, oh, you know, they're encouraging people to just, like, you know, K-word themselves, basically.
I don't think that.
And so, I feel like that was a very frustrating part of what happened, like, after Penny had died, and
I think that's a bigger issue of people taking shows too literally and not too much at face value.
And
like,
not understanding, like, the sort of metaphor, or I guess, like, the, you know, not even necessarily an allegory, it's just, like, that's
when
not
are you going to be in this situation?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
when are you going to have to transfer your hereditary godlike powers to another person?
And so to me, it always felt more like, you know, like basically if it was equated in our real world, it wouldn't be somebody with those thoughts. It would be somebody who has or are in like a terminal position and wants to decide like basically not to suffer anymore or decide when they get to go, right? And that's a very like complicated conversation. However, what has come out of that conversation is people like, oh, why did Jaune do it? RWBY should have done it. Like they just did this for Jaune's man pain. And so that's what we're talking about today. Jaune's man pain, okay? Because you guys have to understand, I don't like Jaune very much, or at least I didn't, okay? So I would be the first person to be like, they are giving too much to Jaune's character. This is ridiculous, like all of that sort of stuff. Because back in the day, like I very much did not like Jaune. I thought he was annoying. I thought he was taking up too much attention. I thought the Jaune fans were fucking crazy. And so I get it. Like we've been there, okay? So if anybody would criticize Jaune's presence in the story, it would be this bitch, okay? It would be me. But I think that it makes a lot of sense why Jaune did it, actually. Yes. And I think it's very dismissive to just say that they did this to further his own character. Because, first of all, like, we haven't even seen, like, what Jaune's gonna be thinking or feeling, like, in the next... You know what I mean? We don't even know how he's gonna feel about it if they are gonna make it like, oh, it's all about Jaune, right? But, like, in terms of the actual story, I know that you find this, like, hilarious.
It's a little funny because I just imagine, like, RWBY and them on a beach and Jaune's, like, pouring his arms.
Yeah,
like, oh my god, I killed my friend.
Exactly what
and
we're
then
going
like
for,
then
right?
like RWBY or someone's like, oh boo-hoo, you had to kill someone.
Exactly. And so I don't feel like that's where we're going. And in terms of like Jaune's involvement, right, I think that's something a lot of people forget. And I understand in terms of, well, they could have written RWBY to be like this, but in terms of the canon that we actually got, what is like the characterization of characters like RWBY or Weiss when they are confronted with Penny saying, you know, just kill me, right? What happens? First of all, RWBY's just like, no, right? She does this, right? Because Penny's like, hey, if you kill me now, right, I can make sure the maiden powers go to you. And RWBY's just kind of like, she does not even kind of take that into consideration. Obviously, they solved the problem. And so at that point, it was kind of like good, I guess, for RWBY to have refused because they found another solution. However, like, that's the first indication of Penny expressing, like, if I'm going to die either way, please let me do it on my own terms. And RWBY's flat out basically like, no, you know, like where, you know, RWBY would not be the one to do it. That's sort of what that earlier scene had expressed to me. Then Penny asks again to Weiss, and Weiss is like, no, right? She doesn't say no outright, but she's like, oh, Penny, like, no, we're not gonna do that. Like, that's the sort of vibe I got from Weiss.
They still feel that there's a way out.
Exactly.
They end up saving her, at least in a short term.
And so that's when they're both flying. I think RWBY has fallen by this point, and Blake has fallen. So she says that to Weiss. But I think that Weiss says no because they're like, no, we can still get out of this. It'll be fine. You know, the other huntsmen are coming. Even Jaune says that, right? Like, I don't know what happened to the other huntsmen, but I'm sure that they're coming. That's sort of like the whole vibe, is that there's still a way, there's still hope, all of that sort of stuff. And so we have to keep in mind that people ask, why didn't RWBY do it? Well, first of all, she wasn't there. And I do understand what people mean. Well, they could have written it for her to be there. But I think the point is that RWBY would not have done it even if RWBY was there. Weiss would not have done it despite Weiss being there. So why did it need to be Jaune? I don't think that it was just because of Jaune's, again, his man pain or like anything like that, but we have to keep in mind...
Or his historical proximity to dead redheads.
Yeah, and so I think that we do, well, actually, that is kind of relevant here in a way. And so I do want to point out, right, in the end of the beginning, which is when Pyrrha goes to sacrifice herself, Jaune says, no, Pyrrha, you can't. You saw how powerful she is. I won't let you, right? And so think about that wording. I won't let you. I don't care about what you think. I won't let you. And I know that it's not that, like, you know, literal, I guess, like in terms of his wording. He's not like literally like that, but at the same time, like, think about those words there. That is Jaune trying to, I guess, impose his own will over Pyrrha's choice. Pyrrha has made up her mind, and he is saying, no, I won't let you. To the point where she has to shove him in a locker, and he has to fly away. And then, like, the other volumes, right? Rightfully so for Jaune to be upset, but he does spend a lot of time like blaming Ozpin and blaming like other characters for what happened to Pyrrha until you get to volume 6 and you have this conversation with Jaune and Pyrrha's relative, right? And so Jaune says she should be standing here, and then the mom said, well, first the mom says she is, or her relative again. She understood that she had a responsibility to try. I don't think she would regret her choice because a huntress would understand that there really wasn't a choice to make. And a huntress is what she always wanted to be. So let's think about that in terms of applying that to Penny. Like, did Penny really have a choice? No, it was either die by her own will, like by her own, you know, by her own choice, or let Cinder kill her. Those were the two choices. There wasn't a choice, right? And so I think that that line is very interesting because it was said in the context of Pyrrha, that Pyrrha knew that there wasn't any other choice to have made. Penny knew the exact same thing. Right? And so I feel like that in terms of Jaune has learned. And I think that that's what the scene with Penny shows, is that at first he does try to be like, no, like the huntsmen are coming, we don't need to do this. But then she said, let me choose this one thing, right? And I feel like there's a lot to unpack with that, as well as like everybody trying to kind of take autonomy over Penny. Like, she's literally hacked, but also like Pietro is like, no, I won't let you. Then you have Ironwood kind of trying to exert their will on her, right? Like, you have all these characters, all these men, I should say, Pietro, Ironwood, Watts, right? Like all of these people, and even Team RWBY to some extent do try to like steer Penny in a direction. Like all of these people are trying to exert a choice over Penny. But then you have Jaune, who actually, you know, listens to her and lets her, like, pick the choice that she wanted to make. He's the first person to do that. And so I think that that's why they had Jaune do it, because it's part of his learning experience of what he's, like, it's basically come full circle, like, with the statue thing, is that he finally learned it's not necessarily Ozpin's fault. You know, it's not anybody else's fault. Pyrrha made that choice, and she wanted to make that choice. She didn't want to be stopped. She wanted to protect everybody, basically. Yes. And so now, coming with Penny, instead of making the same mistake of telling Pyrrha no, because think about how different their last moments would have been if instead of arguing with her, he had said, you know, a heartfelt goodbye, I guess. Or he had gotten the chance to say goodbye, a little bit more closure, right? And so instead of fighting with Penny, he's like, I learned my lesson. If this is what you want, I am going to help you instead of getting shoved in the locker, basically. That's how I personally see it. And so it's very much less about like trying to, I guess, make Jaune like this like, oh, main focus, or they're trying to give Jaune more relevance, but it's more like that nobody else would listen to Penny, and I feel like that, first of all, RWBY wasn't there again,
Yes.
and I understand, like, people saying that they could have written her to be
Yes.
there, but, like, RWBY and Weiss, they don't have necessarily the same experience, and I feel like that what we're probably going into is, like, yes, it was an emotional choice for Jaune, but I feel like that we could also get into, like, Jaune sort of trying to, like, be that advocate, though, like, in terms of, like, it wasn't like a choice that anybody wanted to make, if that makes sense, but like that was the choice Penny made. Like she had all these people standing around trying to decide what was best for her. She wanted to make a choice, and that is how things will kind of progress, is less of like Jaune being like, woe is me, and maybe more when the other characters find out, like him trying to advocate like for Penny and her choices. And so that's why I think it had to be Jaune, right? I don't know. I feel like that there's something so reductive about them, about people saying that it was just to make Jaune relevant. Like you could have had it with a character like Nora or somebody else, but at the same time, does that really like have the same emotional punch? Because no other character has been in this situation twice. Like think about it. Like Jaune has been in this maiden situation 2 times already. He has a personal connection with Cinder and knows what she's capable of. Like she is too powerful. All of that influences Jaune's decision, right? And so I feel like that there's something a bit more like
nuanced,
a bit more nuanced and layered to that, to Jaune helping Penny do this for her. Like almost like I lost the opportunity to do that and like help a maiden once, like with their choices. So now I'm not going to make that same mistake again. And then the powers go to Winter, and we see that, you know, Penny in the Void, like maybe it's just like a happiness after death thing, but like she's happy. Like this is what she wanted. She wanted to choose Winter. They have heartfelt, they have closure. It's not just like Pyrrha dying. And so I feel like that it shows the difference of the outcome. You know what I mean? I don't know.
It raises questions of like, did Cinder and Pyrrha have that conversation?
I doubt that they had any
I don't
sort
know.
of conversation.
But you're right. I do think that it aligns very well with Penny's sort of general arc of gaining more sort of autonomy and self-direction. I think it also may work on a technical level when you talk about it, like Jaune is a man killing her, and they talk about previously that the last person you tend to think of is the person killing you. Yeah. So if it was RWBY might have been the one to end up with it.
Yeah, because she does say, Penny does say, like, let me give the powers to you, to RWBY, which would obviously be kind of a problem. Now, could you have, like, had Weiss do it? I guess, right? But that, like, Weiss and Penny don't have that much of a relationship, and also I feel like that they don't want Team RWBY to have any of the maiden powers at this particular point. And so I feel like that ultimately, like, oh, they could have done this, they could have done that, but, like, this is the thing they did, and the thing they did makes sense. Like, it's not just, like, to throw Jaune a little, you know, a little more main character sprinkle on him. Like, it makes sense to me, and I'm not mad about it. I think that people are kind of, like, overreacting at the choice to have it be Jaune. And I think that it is meaningful for it to have been a man, right? Because you have all these men who try to decide, right, like what's best for Penny, or literally hack her in the case of Watts. And so I don't know, I think that's kind of a nice like turn on its head that Jaune is not, you know, and I think that goes against...
Did RWBY go do like a pull a not all men?
I don't know, not that, but I feel like that it kind of goes against the idea of like that, you know, people are like, oh, you know, Jaune is like this, like self-inserty main character. He's supposed to be like the hero and everything. But I feel like that moment
they've been heartily avoiding that since like volume 5 even. Yeah,
and so I think that there's that. But what I was gonna say was it's more like they're almost like dismantling this idea of what like a male character should kind of be by like having Jaune actually listen to Penny and like just like kind of do what she says, if that makes sense, versus him doing the whole like, oh, you know, I won't let you because I'm the shonen hero of an anime. Like they actually kind of dismantle like that more like I guess, you know, that like hyper masculine like kind of like
that
thing
prevalent
of Jaune,
like knight in shining armor.
Yeah, exactly. They kind of like just take that away. And so I feel like that's actually a good thing, that we get a more, you know, like I don't know, it's just like a different kind of character in that sense. And so
yeah, I also just defend the fact that like she asked someone to, you know, end her life. Yeah. I also think that like it really ties back to that conversation Jaune had with Pyrrha's relative, and that like they didn't have a choice. Penny, like RWBY beforehand, they had a choice. They had more time. There was no time here. The threat of death was imminent. They had to do it.
Yeah, and so I feel like that it it's just, I feel like it's just so misunderstood.
Yes,
like, I feel like the whole scene is just so misunderstood. And so, yeah, that's my feelings about Jaune. I'm not mad that he did it. I do understand, I guess, that people were like, oh, but you know, like, what about, like, her final moments with RWBY and stuff? I'm, like, kind of sure that Volume 9 will be some sort of, like, afterlife void situation. So I feel like that we'll probably see Penny, and that RWBY will be like, bro, what the fuck? And then Penny will just be like, you know, like, the only person that fucking listened to me was Jaune. Like, probably not like that. Like, not
was
like
vomit boy about
overly
goddamn
hostile
people.
or anything, but, like, more like that RWBY is really upset, and Penny's like, no, you don't understand. Like, I finally got, like, to actually, like, make the choice I wanted to make, and now the maiden powers are safer for it, right? Like, Cinder does not have them. And so I feel like that we could get, like, closure. There's still room for more closure, like, with Team RWBY and Penny and stuff. And so, yeah, like, those were just my thoughts. I've had these thoughts for a long time, and so I just wanted to talk about them. But yeah, I know that I've been talking a lot. Do you have any more, like, final thoughts?
No, I thoroughly agree with you. I think it's a totally defensible position. I had not considered in that point the conversation Jaune had with Pyrrha's
it makes
mom.
me, like, emotional.
It's really
every
good.
time.
I'm like, oh man, did they think of that?
Yeah, because, like, again, that whole, like, oh, you know, that's, like, what a huntress, like, that's what a huntress does, and that's what, you know, Pyrrha always wanted to be. Like, can you not find that parallel in Penny? Like, I want to be a huntress.
Yeah,
I want to go to
so
Beacon
well.
and all of that, like, all that stuff that Penny originally, you know, wanted in the early volumes of RWBY. So I feel like it connects really well, in my opinion. And I don't hate it. I don't. And so, yeah, I mean, like, I wonder how different things would be if Penny just, like, threw herself off the side of the void.
Well, then she would drop into I don't know, are we... Okay.
But yeah, anyway. But yeah, those are basically my thoughts on it. That's all that I have to say about this. I can't think of anything else specifically, but yeah, I've just had the Jaune stuff on my mind for a while, and it's just kind of annoying because, like, I was with you. I get it. Like, I understand.
It really is character development for you.
Think, like, you know, like, all this stuff about Jaune, but, like, this is the one defensible point that I will, like, you know, like, fight on this about Jaune. Like, you will never catch me, like, you know, going back to Volume 1 and being like, oh, yeah, like, that was necessary, okay? Like, you know, if anybody should be, like, you know, a Jaune, anti-Jaune in this situation, like, it shouldn't be me, but I'm not. To me, it makes perfect sense. So, yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure to comment down below on what you think about all this. If you do want us to make the Penny, like, discourse video, because I don't really, at this point, I'm just like, I think the discourse is over. I kind of already explained, like, my thoughts on it, but at the same time, I don't know, maybe people want to hear about it. So, yeah, that is basically all from us, and now we will share the names of our wonderful patrons and YouTube membership members who support the channel. So we will see you guys in the next one. Bye!